Hello everyone. In the previous part of the project, which is part 2 of the mini project that we had, we managed to implement the diagram from Microsoft Visio into Cisco Packet Tracer, and this was the result of our implementation. We had internet service provider, then the core router in the core layer, 2 distribution layer 3 switches at the distribution layer, and 8 access layer switches at the access layer, 3 on first floor, 3 on second floor, and 2 on third floor. So guys, if you have not watched part 1 and part 2 of the project, I will leave a link on the description part. Kindly refer back to those previous classes so that we can go together, Alright, so guys, also if you have not subscribed, kindly do us that favor. Guys, today is part 3 of this project, and basically what we are going to do, as per the case study, we are going to implement the following. We're going to configure basic configuration of the devices. Remember, we've been told that we only do configuration at access layer switches and end devices, because we've only covered introduction to networking, subnetting and switching. So we will not go to routing. That's why the case study says we only configure access layer switches and end devices. So basically what we are going to configure there includes basic configuration to the layer 2 switches and the end devices. Then we will configure VLANs in every department. Okay, then EtherChannel, okay, and do a little bit of subnetting, then end device configuration, then port security, and finally test communication. So guys, without any further ado, let's begin our practicals. We will begin with configuring basic configurations of the devices. The devices that I mean are access layer switches. There are 8 switches. So let's start with the first floor switches. Okay, I'll click on this one, then come to CLI. Remember, this is IT department switch. Okay, come to CLI, then just click anywhere, then start enter. This is user exec mode, so we want to move from user exec mode to privilege exec mode. Which command? Enable or en, just like that. Then privilege exec mode to configuration mode. Which command we use? Config T or configure terminal, whichever you like it. It will still pick up, and hit enter. Then guys, we said if you want to configure hostname to any device, you just type a command hostname. If you don't want to type it all, just type half of it, then hit tab. Okay, press tab on your computer, on your keyboard, and tab will finalize the word. Okay, and then we want to give it a name of IT department, depth, like that. So guys, you will see this default name of switch will change to IT department. Hit enter. Can you see the change? Okay, so let's check on another parameter, line console and VTY password. We'll go back to our configuration, and if you want to enter the line console interface, just type in line console, just press on tab 0. Okay, line console 0. Line console is that physical port on a switch that you can use to configure the switch physically when you are there, okay? But for the VTY interfaces, you use it to configure the switch remotely using which protocol? Telnet or SSH, okay? Remember, Telnet uses switch TCP port 23, okay? Alright, hit enter. So we are in line console 0. The parameters that we can configure on this line include password. Password is a command. Remember, password, it's just press on tab. Then which password do we want to use? We want to use one password for all these devices. Okay, so I'll use which password? Cisco at 123. Remember? Then log in. Remember this. Sorry. Log in like that. Remember these three commands. Line console 0. Then you specify password. Alright. Then you log in. When a user enters this password on the line console, he will able to log in. Okay. Then another parameter that we can configure on line console 0. While we are still on line console 0, we will configure exec timeout and login synchronous. Okay, when we are still in line console 0. So I'll just write exec time, then it tab like that one. Then we want this device to disable any line console user after every 3 minutes of inactivity. 3 minutes 0 seconds, right? So hit enter. Okay guys, then logging synchronous, just like that. Remember what you can configure on line console 0. The first command is line console 0, then you enter the password, then you log in the user, then kindly try to configure the exec timeout, right? Then login synchronous, right? Then exit. We have done with line console 0. So we are going to line VTY. Line VTY. Then which interfaces? 0 to 4. Just specify 0 to 4. The same thing that I have done. Kindly for your beginner practice, kindly just type line VTY 0 to 4. Then hit enter. Okay. Password. We said we will use one password for all the devices. Cisco at 123. Okay, just simple as that. Then log in this user. Right. What do you configure again in line VTY? Exec timeout and login synchronous. And guys, suppose you have done some configuration above here, like this one and this one, and you don't want to type them again because they are the same thing. What do you do? Are you using the arrow up, arrow down? Kindly press. You will retrieve all the configuration that you have done. So I'll just try to press arrow up. 1 2 3 4 5. I have found exec timeout 3 minutes 0 seconds. So I will set the same on line VTY. I'll just hit enter. Then for login synchronous, arrow up, login synchronous. Here it is. For the same thing, hit enter and exit the interface. So guys, we have configured host name, then exec timeouts and login synchronous for both line console 0 and VTY. Okay, and configured line console 0 and VTY passwords, right? So we are remaining with banner messages and disable IP lookup. Okay, so let me just configure banner message. We said when you want to configure banner message, you just type banner MOTD. MOTD basically means message of the day. Okay, then your message should be inside a character. Inside a character. So if it's star, if it is asterisk, it should be asterisk both at the start and at the end. if it's hash, it should be hash both at the start and at the end. So in my case, I'll use hash. Okay, 2 hash like that. Then inside, you come to inside. Okay, then say this switch is for IT department. Okay guys, just like this, banner MOTD, then opening character, then your message, then closing character. Remember this one, don't ever forget. Hit enter. What is remaining, guys, for the basic configuration? Disable domain IP lookup. Guys, domain IP lookup basically means sometimes you might type a wrong thing, okay, and the Cisco iOS will take a lot of time looking for what you've typed on, trying to check on its database if such thing is existing. So let me try and do right like this one. You will see something, and it normally takes around 30 seconds. That's really time consuming. So we want to disable iOS from trying to look for those characters that does not exist. Are you seeing? Translating domain server, this one, and you cannot proceed until it finishes. This is really time consuming, and we want to disable this one, so you cannot continue even if you type enter, you can't until it finishes. Okay, it really takes time. Nothing is going on. It's still translating this character. This character doesn't exist, so it's trying to check if that particular character it is in its database. So we want to disable this kind of behavior, because you know, network engineer time is a really valuable thing. Okay, so let's just wait. And suppose you want to cancel this, you just type Control Shift then 6. So it will take around 1 minute. I cannot wait all of that. Okay, it's finished. It's finished. So suppose you have come across such error and you want to exit. Okay, I want to show you. Let me just type the same thing again. See, it's still translating. It will take around 1 minute. That is a lot of time that you can't wait. So if you come across such error, just Control Shift then 6. Press and hold Control and Shift then 6. Have you seen? I have aborted lookup, lookup. Okay, so we want to disable such scenario. What do? We just type no IP domain lookup, like this one. Okay, no IP domain lookup, just like that one, and hit enter. So let me try to write the same thing again. I'll just try to retrieve what I've just configured above. Press on the arrow up, this one. Can you see? Now translating this one, unknown command, but initially it was this one, and it really took us around 1 minute, a lot of time. Okay, so guys, we have managed to configure no IP domain lookup. What's remaining? Let me check on it. We have configured host name, this one, banner messages, domain lookup we have disabled, and exec timeout. So guys, we are done configuring the basic configuration on IT department switch. What do? Always remember to save your configuration. Just do right. Okay, like that one. Exit this interface. We were in configuration mode. We are back in privilege exec mode. we want to check on what we have configured. Okay, we want to check on what we have configured so far. Which command do we use? Show start. Show start basically is a command that is displaying the startup configuration. You can type show start or show running configuration. Okay, just hit enter. So guys, as you can see, our hostname is IT department, then no IP domain lookup successfully configured. Then coming down, we have a banner message here. Can you see? Then line console 0. We have a password. We had login synchronous and exec timeout. The same for line VTY 024. Okay. Okay guys, that's the end of basic device configuration in IT department. So we will do the same on all these switches. Remember, there are 8 switches. We have only configured 1. 7 are remaining. And you know, time is a very crucial part in network engineering. Okay, what do we do so that we can configure these devices with the same parameter very quickly? I want to show you a trick. Just type show start, just like this. Just type show start like that. Okay, and hit enter. Scroll down until you see this end. Okay, start. After you have seen this end, scroll up again until where you specified a command to start show start. Okay, this is where we specified a command to show start configuration, startup configuration. Okay, alright, so we want to copy startup configuration of this switch so that we can paste in all other switches. That's that we will only modify a few things like host name and banner message. So start copying from here using this one. Start copying from there. Remember, this is our last command, so whatever the last command displayed, copy them. So I'll copy like this one until where it's written end. Okay, see this end, take all of them and come here. You don't control C in Packet Tracer, just come and click on the copy. Good. So whatever we have copied, open notepad, txt notepad, okay, and paste them there. After you have copy pasted the notepad, so we want to modify information based on which switch that we are going to configure. So we want to configure a research switch. I'll just come here and say research department. Okay, only host name and banner message, because everything we want to look similar. Banner message says this switch is for, now it's research department, like that one. Okay, everything now works good, everything now looks good. Okay, then copy also this one. Now you can control C, then come to research switch, CLI, enable fig T. Okay, and we have copied things here. I will come and paste. You will see this default name of a switch will turn to research department. Okay, so just come here and paste. Have you seen something? Research department, then just type end. And a very important part that you should never miss, do right. No, we are in privilege exec mode. We are in privilege exec mode, so it's just right. Okay, we have done configuring basic configuration in research department. It's just very easy as that one. Then you come to electrical department. I told you what to modify here is just banner message, which is here is electrical. Then you come above to host name, which is also electrical. After doing that, just Control A to highlight all, then copy. Okay, then come to electrical department switch, then enable config T, then paste. Okay, can you see electrical department? Okay, then just type that end and right. Okay guys, as you can see above here we have a banner message. This is electrical switch, electrical department switch, things like that. So guys, let me do this. Let me do for the marketing department so that I can post the video to complete all the basic requirement for this, for the remaining switches. So this one is for marketing department. I just come here and write marketing like that one. Then hub for host name, marketing, this way. Control A to highlight all, then Control C to copy. Then come to marketing department switch, enable config T, then paste. Just come here and paste. Can you see marketing department switch, then enter, then right. Okay guys, let me try to show you startup configuration in marketing department switch. Show start. Can you see host name is, can you see host name is department, marketing department, no IP, domain lookup, everything that we configured in the first switch, copy pasted in every switch. Banner message, this switch is for marketing department, everything, line console 0 and VTY 0 to 4, everything guys. So guys, allow me to post the video so that I can do the same for this, for the remaining 4 switches. I hope you have mastered how to do basic configuration for switches and copy the startup configuration from one switch to another to save you time. Okay, allow me to post a video. I'll return when I have configured the 4 switches with the basic configuration, just as we have done in the above case. Okay. Okay guys, we have managed to configure all these switches using the configuration that we copy pasted in .txt file. Okay, I hope this is a very simpler way of configuring many devices at a time. Okay, whenever there are many devices and you want to configure basic configurations or settings, kindly configure one device using those parameters that you have been given to configure, right? Then copy startup configuration from that one device, copy to .txt file, then paste in every device in the network that will have the same configuration. Okay, remember in our requirement we were told to configure every device with these parameters, access layer switches with these parameters. So what we did basically was to configure only one switch, the IT department switch, and those configuration we copied them to a notepad.txt file. Then to configure the remaining devices, we modified the configuration that we copied and paste in every device, and for that case we have achieved full basic device configuration as per the requirement. So let's see the second task, configuring VLAN. To configure VLAN, we will use VTP to create VLANs at every department, and then use Vtp Pruning to allow VLANs. Then each VLAN should be in a different network. Okay guys, let's go back to configuration. We've been told to use VTP. Remember, in our VTP classes we said to configure a VTP we must give a VTP domain name. Suppose this is a mini project, let me say GTech mini project. So I'll say the domain name of our VTP configuration here will be GTech, right? And then after giving a domain name, you should specify that this switch is a server or client. Okay, remember, you can only create VLANs on the server switch, okay, and it will be replicated on the client switches. So if you make this switch to be our VTP server and configure VLANs here, we will find all these VLANs in all these switches. Okay, so let's do that one, guys. The first thing that I'll do, I'll come to switch. See, we've been required to input a password. This is line console 0 password. And which password did we use? Cisco at 123. You will not see the password, okay, and hit enter. You just type the password, but you'll never see them. So make sure that you type the correct password. Config T. So the first command to configure VTP, remember, before you can configure VLAN, we've been told to use VTP. So we'll use VTP to configure the VLANs, the switch, right? So we want to make IT switch to be our server, VTP server. What do? We just type VTP domain. Then which domain? Let me say GTech. GTech with small letter, just like that one, okay? Then see, changing VTP domain name from null to GTech. Alright guys, then the second command that you should do, Vtp Mode. You must specify that which mode is this one. We want it to be server. Good. The device is already in Vtp server mode. Remember, by default all the Cisco switches are in Vtp server mode, right? So it's upon us to make some to be in client mode. Alright guys, so let me just do right to save, and let's create VLANs already, okay? Then we go to other switches, then enable VTP client, so that these VLANs can be copied to all the other switches. We want to create how many VLANs? We have 8 departments, 8 VLANs. So I will come to my document and then place this as that, then create VLANs. So VLAN 10, I'll create VLAN like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 80 until 80, right? Not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to be in a range of 10, 10. Okay, VLAN 10. Then you give a name to that VLAN. Name IT. Okay, VLAN 20. Name research. Sorry, I want it to be in capital letter, research, like that one. Then VLAN 30. Which one? Electrical. Sorry, name, you say name electrical, okay. VLAN 40, name marketing, like that. Or capital should be capital at least. Then VLAN 50, name accounting, okay. Then VLAN 60, name finance. Then VLAN 70, name logistics. Then finally VLAN 80, name customer care. Where is it? I think we confused. Here should be store. Let me check on my diagram again. Is there customer care in our diagram? So there is no customer care. So I'll modify the document so that it should be store. Yes, logistics, not logistics and store. Okay, so here is customer. Let me just type customer like that. Okay, and do right. And guys, let's see the VLAN database. Do show VLAN. Can you see we have created how many VLANs? 8 VLANs. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 8. 10 is IT department, 20 is research, 30 is electrical, 40 is marketing, 50 is accounting, 60 is finance, 70 is logistics, and 8 is customer. Okay. Alright guys, no problem at all. So what's remaining? We've managed to configure IT department switch to be in VTP client, then configured all the VLANs that is required in the network. Okay guys, so let's go to every switch and enable it to be in VTP client. Okay, so if this is VTP server, all the remaining switches should be in VTP client, so that any VLAN configuration that will be done on VTP server will be copied to all the VTP clients. So let me go to, okay, now let me go to research department switch. See, this is line console password Cisco at 123. Enable config T. And then what do we do? VTP domain. Which domain did we use? We use GTech. And remember, the domain name should be the same in all the switches. Okay. Okay, so this one will be VTP Mode client. Okay. Do right. So I'll go to the second switch and do the same.
VTP domain should be edited. VTP mode should be client. Do right. And that's it. Cisco at 1, 2, 3. Enable config T. And then VTP domain is edited. And then VTP mode is client.
Alright guys, we've managed to configure VTP modes in all these switches. This one as our VTP server and the remaining one as VTP clients. So guys, to configure VTP, the first thing that we must do, we should always enable trunk interfaces so that they can forward these many VLANs. For now, if we check the VLAN database here, let's say this the last switch, we will not find. Okay, do show VLAN. See, the only VLANs that are here, they are here by default. Okay, there are no VLANs that we created earlier in this switch, so we must enable trunk interfaces. Okay, so that these VLANs can be forwarded. So we will go to every switch and enable trunk interface. Okay guys, let's come to IT department switch and identify which interfaces should be in trunk mode. It should be this one and this one. For research department switch, it should be this one and this one. Electrical department switch, it should be this one and this one. Okay, so we must enable trunk interface on these interfaces, then come again to enable trunk interface on this layer, distribution layer 3 switches also. Okay, I will do for IT department first. So let me go to IT department switch. Okay, then password is Cisco at 1, 2, 3. Enable config T, then interface range, because there are two interfaces, which is 1 and 2. This one is FA0/2 and the other one is FA0/1. So there are two interfaces that we want to configure the same parameter. So we use a command called interface range FA0/1 to 2. We'll set same parameter on these two interfaces. Hit enter. Then switch port mode trunk. See, do right. You'll see they are turning to orange because they were initially in access mode, so they have been turned to trunk mode. Let me do for the other switch also. Cisco at 1, 2, 3. Enable config T. Alright guys, then interface range, which interfaces are connecting to layer 3 switches. This one FA0/1 and FA0/2. Just place your cursor on the green or orange icon, you will see. Then it's FA0/1 to 2. Sorry, to 2. Switch port mode trunk. Do right. You see it's turning orange, all of them. Okay. Then for the other switch also, Cisco at 1, 2, 3. Enable config T. Interface range FA0/1 to 2. Switch port mode trunk. do right. So guys, we've managed to configure trunk interfaces on this switch, this one, and for the remaining five, allow me to pause the video so that you can save time, because for the 3 I hope you have mastered how to configure trunk interface. The 3 are enough for you to configure trunk interface. Allow me to pause the video so that we can continue when I have configured trunk interface on these 3 switches. Okay. Alright guys, I have managed to configure trunk interfaces on all the access layer switches. We have 8 access layer switches, and I have configured all these interfaces that are connecting to layer 3 switches as trunk interfaces. Remember, we've only configured on one side. So let's go to distribution layer, though in our requirement we have said we should only handle access layer, but for the case of trunk interface we'll go to distribution layer and enable trunk interface there. Okay, let me start with this switch. Allow me to start with this switch, and I want all these interfaces except this one to be in trunk mode, all these interfaces. So let me start see. Okay, so let me see which interfaces are these. FA01, and this one is FA03, FA04, FA01, and the last one is FA011. So guys, I'll go to that switch, CLI, no, enable, config, T, then interface range FA0/2, because F1 was this one connecting to the router. Okay, 2, 11. Remember, we have 11 interfaces here that are connecting to the access layer switches and this distribution layer switch, right? So let enter, then switch port mode trunk. Okay, hit enter. Alright, then do right, save. Okay, then the other side also you specify the same command, enable, config, terminal, then interface range FA0 2 11, switch port mode trunk. Okay, do right. Okay guys, we have managed to configure trunk on all the access layer switches and distribution layer switches. So we will test if those VLANs were copied to VTP client switches. So let me just go to this one first, Cisco at 123, enable show VLAN. Guys, see, are you seeing anything? We didn't configure VLAN on marketing department switch, but due to VTP due to the use of VTP, we have accessed the 7 VLANs in the network. Okay, then again let us try for the last switch. Remember the last time we tried for the last switch there were no VLAN. So enable show VLAN. Wow, see, there are VLANs here. We have IT, research, electrical, marketing, accounting, finance, and logistics. The same way we created VLANs in IT department is the same way we have found those VLANs replicated in client, VTP's client switches. Now let me create another VLAN here called now for our practice Cisco at 123. Then enable config terminal, then VLAN. Let me say 120. Then name. Let's give it a name of GuruTech. Remember, this is IT department. See, IT department. I'm creating this VLAN in IT department. So enter. Do right. So let me go to whichever switch, even accounting. Let me see if that VLAN has been copied here. Cisco at 123. Enable show VLAN. See, GTG here. So guys, this is a very important part. VTP is a very important part for your configuration. VTP is a very important protocol that saves time. Okay, you can configure VLANs, multiple VLANs in one switch, and those VLANs will be replicated or automatically copied to all other switches, and you must specify that one switch is VTP server switch and the remaining one are VTP client switches using the same VTP domain name. In our case we used GuruTech. Okay guys, so let me see what's remaining so far. Use VTP pruning to allow VLANs, and each VLAN should be in a different network. Okay, so guys, for the case of VTP pruning and to save time, I will do it in only one, let me say 2 switches, and for the remaining one you will do on your own, okay, for your practice and to save us more time. So let me just go to any switch, and guys, you must know that VTP pruning is a protocol that is used to deny and allow certain VLANs through the trunk interface. It's a security, it's one of the layer 2 security implementation. Okay, when we have VTP pruning in place, any unwanted VLAN or traffic will not pass through the trunk interface. Okay, so let me go to IT department switch and configure VTP pruning. Exit. To configure VTP pruning, you must enter the trunk interfaces. For our case, trunk interfaces were interface FA0/1 to true. Okay, right, sorry, interface range, then switch port, trunk allowed VLAN. The rule said VLAN 1 should be included. VLAN 1 should be included plus the VLANs that we created. Okay, so let me just go to this switch and VLAN 1, then 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 and 120. We get there till 120. Okay, oh sorry, there's an error somewhere here. Should be close like that one. Right guys, so exit, and now let's check the trunk interface if these particular VLANs are allowed. Do show trunk interface. Do show interface trunk. Do show interface trunk. Do show interface. Sorry. Do show interface trunk. Okay guys, as you can see, for the port allowed VLANs, we have 2 ports as trunk interface. This one. Okay, and for the allowed VLANs are 1, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 and 120. Okay, alright guys, and for the same you can do to the second switch. You just come to the second switch, Cisco at 1, 2, 3, enable config T, then interface range. There were two interfaces that we used as trunk. Interface range FA0/1 to 2. Okay, switch port trunk allowed VLAN 1, 2, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Let's say we only want to allow these VLAN numbers in research department switch. Just type and hit enter. Okay, do right. So let's go to department switch so that we can see the trunk interface. Do show interface trunk. Are you seeing the number of VLANs that are there? The only number that we allowed. Okay, so guys, the same you can do for all other switches for your practice purposes. And now let me see what we have. So what's remaining is to configure EtherChannel, then planning for IP addresses and end device configuration, then finally port security and testing communication. Okay, and guys, for those three remaining parts we will handle them in the next part of this project. Remember, so far so good. We have managed to configure until task 5. Okay, task 4 was successful in everything. Task 5 is successful in everything. We have created VTP and allowed VLANs to be replicated in every VTP client switch. Okay, VTP pruning we have just configured, and each VLAN should be in a different network. That one will come after we have done subnetting, so don't worry about it. And so far guys, have a nice time, and let's see you again in the next part of this project. And kindly, before you turn off, kindly make sure that you subscribe to our channel. Kindly support us with only one click of your subscription. Okay, bye, and see you again in next part of the project.